it was, for me, every time I didn't want to go to the gym, the only thing that got me there was the fact that I would mentally feel better afterwards. So I think having a why during a fitness journey is so important, because if your why is just looking better, it won't get you there.
Well, I want to start high level because you have such an incredible story. I think one of the things that I found out about you that among all of the things that about you that impressed me, the fact that you lost 90 pounds and was able to keep it off in a really sustainable way, that to me is amazing, because I have dabbled in fat loss. I've lost, I think, in total over the past couple of months about 10 pounds, which is nothing compared to 90 pounds. And so I would love to know your method. Like, how did you do it? How did you manage to keep it off?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah, definitely. And it is a crazy amount. And what I will say is that I didn't approach it in that way. When I first decided to lose weight, I wasn't like, I'm going to lose 90 pounds, because that's super intimidating and something that I think would have scared me off the journey in general. In reality, where I started from was, I think, where a lot of people start from, or where a lot of people are at right now. I was never overweight growing up. My family ate pretty well. We ate kind of like a European diet, and food wasn't something I really thought about. And then in college, I was just mentally deteriorating. At the time, I was diagnosed with BPD, which is borderline personality disorder, put on a number of medications, mood stabilizers, antipsychotics, antidepressants.
Wow.
While drinking heavily, which was a big problem for me back in college. So I was partying a lot, trying to numb my pain, disassociating, really just checked out of reality, and the medication emphasized that and made everything worse. And I think a lot of people know when you're put on SSRIs, which, by the way, I'm not bashing medication. I think there's a time and place for it, and it can be really helpful for some people. It's a short-term tool. But to be put on that amount just completely rid me of my personality. Like, I was basically numb and suddenly craving foods that I had never craved, like all kind of street truck food, fast food, Chinese food, pizza, along with drinking. I just gained so much weight, and I wasn't even really conscious of it until I was far in. Like,
wow.
I'd probably gained 60 pounds by the time I noticed. So at this point, I was really struggling with all my relationships, failing every class, which I was a semester out from graduating. So my life was pretty much falling apart. I was self-harming regularly, just kind of really at like the depths of rock bottom. I ended up having to pull myself out of school, moved back home with my dad, which was kind of humiliating for me. And it was a big reality check, because all of the bad decisions I had made and all the sort of the way that I had allowed myself to be mediocre for so long, which is the way I view it, all was catching up. I decided to clean turkey come off the medication, which is not recommended, but I did it because I could tell that something was wrong. I was like, I know that I shouldn't be on this amount of medication, and I don't know what's going on. Came off of it, which was a difficult journey. When you come off of SSRIs, weird things happen to your brain. People have sudden impulses that they weren't having before, like shoplifting was one for me.
Whoa.
Which was so out of character. I'd never shoplifted in my life, had no interest in anything like that, and for some reason I just became obsessed with things like that.
That's so odd.
I know, so weird. For like a 4-month or a 4-week period, I got caught actually, and then I stopped.
Wow.
It was so interesting. And now when I look back from like a health or a science perspective, I'm like, what was going on in my brain during that time? But during that process, I was able to look at my life and really evaluate what was going on. And I know this is a very long-winded answer to your question, but I needed a way to get control back. And I think a lot of times people really need to hit that low rock bottom and see their life at its worst before they can decide to make it better. And I kind of feel lucky that I had that experience, because I think too many people coast with having a average life without reaching their full potential because they don't know. I think when you hit that certain level of desperation, that's when you can really kickstart things and when you need to. So I evaluated my life and said, okay, I need to take control somehow. And to me, I was like, I'm just going to focus on my health. I was dating my now husband, Greg, who has been bodybuilding since middle school. So he was my example. So I pretty much copied everything he did at the beginning. I would make like the huge bowl of oatmeal and the 7 eggs and like send him a photo. And I think he was like happy I was putting an effort in, but he was like, you know, maybe pull it back a little bit. Because he was a 250-pound bodybuilder. I didn't need to be eating that amount. But anyway, you figure it out as you go. And I was walking way more. That was the first step for me, was just walking, because the gym was really scary for me back then. I think for a lot of women who are overweight or insecure, walking into a gym is terrifying.
Had you had any relationship with exercise at that point?
No.
Wow.
Growing up, I had just skied. I was a good skier and did ballet. It was all individual type sports, but I was never like athletic, which I kind of wish I had been put into sports. Now, I think with my kids, I'll do that because I think it can be really valuable. But no relationship with exercise. Eventually got myself into Planet Fitness and began with pretty basic bodybuilding exercises. Greg taught me how to do leg press, squat, side lateral, overhead press, all the basics. Kind of learned how to train like a man, I guess. And that worked for me. It felt amazing. I felt empowered. I could go heavy. I was losing weight. I think a lot of girls are really scared to weightlift.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's that theory that you'll get bulky. And if you're already overweight, why would I add more size? And I think what a lot of girls don't realize is the dedication it would take to put on that amount of muscle. And for someone who'd never really pushed themselves in that way, lifting weights is hard. You sweat, you're burning calories, you're moving your body more. You see the most progress you're going to see at the beginning, right? Because my body wasn't used to any of that. So for the first time, I'm lifting heavy things, and I saw a lot of progress. And eventually I added some cardio in, but nothing crazy. So for me, weightlifting was kind of like the core of how I began.
Well, also your boyfriend, has 10 times the testosterone that you have.
Yeah.
There's a different hormonal milieu.
Yep.
Most women can put in a lifetime of effort with their resistance training and never see the kind of size that they're most likely afraid of.
Right. Exactly. You would have to literally dedicate your life to trying to get that size.
Yeah. It's really difficult. So you started walking, and then you went straight into a weightlifting routine, which I think is super smart.
I guess so. I don't think I really knew that. I was inspired also at the time. It was the era of the bodybuilding bikini competitions. So I followed all the competitors, and I kind of had this mindset where I was like, I should just shoot for the stars because then at least I'll land close type of thing. So I didn't want to aim to just lose weight. I wanted to have a super athletic body and kind of be like the best. Like in my head, I wasn't even really sure what I was working towards. It just became this new obsession for me because I think I was filling that void, that painful hole I had with fitness. And my goal was like, if I aim to be as good as the winner of the Olympia this year, then I'll get somewhat close. And I just kind of knew that something good would come out of how hard I was working. So I think while I was, losing weight, I had a much bigger vision for what the whole journey would end up being.
And talk about your mental health at the time, because you had come off of the drugs, right? And you had just started exercising. What role did exercise play at that point in your mental health?
It was, for me, every time I didn't want to go to the gym, the only thing that got me there was the fact that I would mentally feel better afterwards.
Wow.
So I think having a why during a fitness journey is so important, because if your why is just looking better, it won't get you there. Because showing up every day for a year when you're not used to pushing your body to that level is really, really hard. And I think having that mental motivation, knowing I would feel so much better after a workout, helped a ton. And I was still really in the depths of my BPD. Now, I'm not even sure I check off all the characteristics for BPD anymore. That's kind of how far I've come on it. But along with exercise, doing therapy, nutrition has always been, I think, more important to me than anything else. And that was huge for my mental health too. I was keto for a very long time.
Interesting. Well, I want to talk about how nutrition, the relationship between nutrition and your mental health. But what is, for people that are unfamiliar, and I'm certainly not super familiar with it, what does it feel like to have borderline personality disorder?
Good question. I think, not a lot of people talk about it. The way I've heard it described that I think is a good description is that it's like having 3rd-degree burns on your emotions.
Whoa.
So just highly sensitive. Any look, any weird interaction, things can trigger you very easily. And they say it's a trauma disorder, which I actually didn't know when I was diagnosed. That wasn't discovered yet. And when you go to Google BPD, it's highly stigmatized. So they'll say therapists won't even work with people that have borderline, or it is a manipulative, selfish disorder. In reality, it comes from neglect, sexual abuse, different types of trauma, and it shows up as a lack of identity, super sensitive, a lot of self-harm, disassociation, kind of this feeling that you're not real. It's a very painful disorder, but it is one that you can work yourself out of. That's kind of my biggest message with it, because when I was diagnosed, I was given the impression that I would never not have it. And now I live a life where I have struggles. I have high anxiety. I still dissociate occasionally because that's my brain's coping method. And I still work on it, but I don't consider myself someone that struggles with BPD on a daily basis anymore.
Wow, that's incredible. And so when you were in the throngs of it, when it really had more of a grip on your life than it does now, what was your diet and lifestyle like at that point? Not to say that there was any association.
There was.
But yeah, you can identify one.
Yeah, I think that diet and lifestyle, if it's not causing BPD, it's making it a lot worse and way more difficult to deal with. For example, my morning, I was having a giant iced coffee with milk and sugar first thing. Caffeine, horrible for anxiety. Sugar, adding to my mood swings. Then a muffin for breakfast, which was adding more sugar, which would inevitably lead to a crash in my mood, in my energy. Things like that, to me, exasperate BPD or any mood disorder that you might have. And in doing research, I was looking at things like epilepsy or, other disorders that can benefit from a ketogenic diet because you have a stable blood sugar all day. So I was like, that sounds like it might be something that could help me. Jordan Peterson's daughter, I think, she's on a carnivore diet.
Yeah, along with Jordan himself.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd heard of many people using diet to help them with their mental disorders. So I tried it. I was keto for a long time and it helped a ton.
Wow.
I think it allowed me to do the things that got me to where I needed to go. Like, I wouldn't say it like cured my BPD, but I could think more clearly in order to get myself in the right direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Have you had Chris Palmer on your podcast?
No.
So he's a psychiatrist who wrote a book recently called Brain Energy on the role of metabolic health in psychiatric disorders. And he'll utilize the ketogenic diet clinically for conditions that it's not even necessarily indicated for, but that he, through looking deep into the mechanisms of all these conditions, there's overlap with epilepsy. They're not identical conditions, but his expertise has informed him of the fact that, as a psychiatrist, that they'll use drugs indicated for epilepsy for other conditions, and it seems to work. So he was like, his rationale was, if they've been using the ketogenic diet for a century at this point to treat certain types of epilepsy, maybe it can play a therapeutic role for these other conditions. And he's been using it successfully, according to him. Yeah,
I have seen great results. I'm keto right now. I use it kind of more as a tool, honestly, for inflammation and skin and other things now. But I really think it made a big difference for me. And also, keep in mind, I was eating actual crap before. So just switching to high quality food, I'm sure, made such a big difference.
Wow.
But I was eating a lot of salmon, avocado, olive oil, a lot of fats.
Yeah. Super healthy. Anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Like extra virgin olive oil, we know, has an anti-inflammatory effect. On par almost with like a low dose NSAID drug, but without the terrible side effects.
My husband and I have been cycling olive oil from different regions. Have you heard of this?
No.
Apparently that's something that you should do.
Interesting.
We love doing this weird shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here. But,
Yeah.
we've been sourcing olive oil from Greece, Spain, France, and we cycle it each month.
That's amazing.
We go through a ton of olive oil.
I have a good friend. He's a oleologist. He's like an expert in extra virgin olive oil. I'm like, I want to be an oleologist.
That sounds fantastic.
How do I qualify for that? Are you friends with Pia, who's on your network? Pia.
No. Oh, Pia. She had a really cute dress on, remember? At the event. No, I haven't met her.
She's cool. I can connect you with her. She's I've been on her show, but she and her husband have an extra virgin olive oil company.
Stop.
Yeah.
That sounds so fun.
It's bomb. It's really good olive oil.
Is it cute labeling and everything, packaging?
It's pretty cute. But I mean, I actually find fun. Yeah, like what you're saying, I enjoy. People ask me all the time my favorite brand of extra virgin olive oil, and I don't have one because I like going to the store and trying all the different regions and brands and things like that.
Do you make sure it's in like a dark bottle?
Yeah, that's important.
Organic and cold press.
All that, yeah.
I just had Paul Saladino on the show, and we were talking about olive oil. He's super anti cooking in olive oil and avocado oil, and we just went on a tangent about olive oil.
I'm not anti cooking with it. I think he's got some pretty out there ideas.
I know. You guys should debate. Have you ever debated anyone?
I'm not really into debates because I feel like the mere act of debating some of these diet extremists would position me as a dietary extremist.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You kind of definitely have a very balanced approach, I feel.
I try to.
I like the fact, I think it's my audience on Pursuit of Wellness really responded well to you, I think, because you were like, there's bigger fish to fry. If someone's, we were talking about oatmeal or something.
Yeah.
I think you make health more approachable for people.
I mean, you really have to be delusional to assume that, or to assert that oatmeal is the driving cause of metabolic illness in 2023, or tomatoes, lectin-containing foods, or cooking with extra virgin olive.
I also just think you have to meet people where they're at sometimes.
Yeah.
And me personally, I'm obsessed with this lifestyle and I really enjoy learning about it. And if something makes me not feel good, then I stop eating it.
Exactly.
But I don't think that means other people should stop eating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People should try things. If you're just automatically, because you heard on social media that oatmeal is some toxic, awful thing, and you cut it out of your diet without even trying to see if it makes you feel good, then I think that that's a mistake.
That's the way I found keto, because I was like, let me just try it. And I felt fantastic on it. I think I did it for too long because I saw some issues with my gut results after years of doing it. I was missing some essential bacteria, I think, because I was keto for so long.
Because like a pretty fiber deprived diet.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, I think people need to try things 100%.
Yeah, I agree. So extra virgin olive oil, yeah, you're all about it.
All about it. I still use so much. That and salt. I'm a big salt gal.
Yeah. So tell me about your current way of eating,
Okay.
your current dietary philosophy, because you interview all these amazing experts on your podcast, some controversial, some not. You had the Liver King on your show, which I want to talk about what that was like. You were the first female to interview the Liver King, and also right after his big controversy, right?
Right after the steroid scandal.
Yeah, the big reveal.
Which is kind of why I wanted to talk to him. I knew of him because my husband is a big fan. I think a lot of guys are a big fan of his. And I had the experience of, like many people, just seeing clips and having this judgment about him, but then actually listening to his content and realizing he does have some valuable things to share. So I was interested. I wasn't a huge fan. I wasn't not a fan. And then when the steroid scandal came out, my husband was like, you got to talk to him. And I was just seeing so much about it online. To me, having a podcast is kind of like being a journalist. Like, why? That would be a fantastic moment to talk to someone. And he was eager to share his side of things. So, but that was one of my first guests. So I was like, holy shit, like, is this a good idea? I was terrified.
That's biting off a lot.
I didn't sleep for 3 days. I was really, really nervous. And I was like, well, how am I going to ask this giant man about the steroids? Like, how am I going to look him in the eye and ask this? But I did a lot of research, watched a lot of other interviews, read about him, had all my questions ready. I'm someone that over preps a little bit. I think I need to tone that back because you got to have some curiosity left,
Yeah.
So did my research, tried not to read the comments. too much because that'll psych me out of asking things. If I see certain people going off on the steroid thing, I'll be nervous. So I didn't read the comments. Had him in with his wife. They are really nice people.
Did you show up shirtless?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He had the fur head dress. Were they wearing shoes? I don't even know if they were wearing shoes.
Oh, my God.
And he had a crew of 10.
Wow.
He came in a van, crew of 10, such a presence. The whole Dear Media office was like, who is here? It was crazy. The chef showed up 3 hours early to prepare the liver and testicle and...
To your office?
To the Dear Media office, yeah.
Wait, what? Did you do like a tasting?
Yeah, I tried all of it, yeah.
Oh, you did?
On the microphone, yeah.
What was that like?
Like eating the testicle?
Yeah.
I just bodied it because I had so much adrenaline just sitting there and he's staring at me like I have to eat it, right? God. I actually eat liver every day now.
Liver's great.
Yeah.
But you ate raw testicle?
Raw testicle. It tastes like conch.
Interesting.
And Greg also ate it. And Liver King ate it, obviously. It wasn't that bad.
Wow.
I ate 3 things. Testicle, liver, and maybe the third one was like kidney or something. I can't remember.
All raw?
Yeah.
Wow.
All raw by Chef Lionel.
What is raw liver? I mean, I guess I could kind of assume what...
Blood. I swallow it raw every day. I freeze it and swallow it in a chunk because I don't want to taste it. So I kind of treat it like a pill. But the second it hits my throat, I just taste it like iron.
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, liver is great for you. It's one of the most nutrient-dense foods.
Do you eat it?
I eat it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I love... A bunch of companies now make liver crisps, which I really enjoy. No. Yeah, they're super tasty. There's a company called Carnivore Crisps, I think. Carnivore Crisps.
Kind of like the chicken crisps.
Yeah. They make those too. Chicken crisps that are great. They're like really lean, great source of protein. But Carnivore Crisps, Carnivore Aurelius makes liver crisps or chips or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, they're really good. And then I've accumulated liver supplements like desiccated liver.
Heart and soil.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. Not that brand, but... And then I buy occasionally. Like chicken liver is super tasty. Like I've got a number of good recipes that I can, make with that. And then beef liver is really good.
They don't really have it at Erewhon.
Liver?
I find it at Whole Foods.
Interesting.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of places don't carry it because no one wanted it up until recently.
Sometimes you find it in the frozen section.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they just can't move it fast enough to keep it out fresh.
Yeah, no one wants it.
Yeah, chicken liver I think is easier to find because it is tastier.
That scares me.
Yeah. Chicken liver's good. Chicken liver's really where are you from?
From the UK.
You're from the UK.
English, half Welsh, yeah.
So I was in London recently and I discovered Nando's. Yeah.
I love the way you said it, like Nando's.
Yeah. My other British friends make fun of me about this because I became obsessed with it. I was like, yeah, it's so good. They have a chicken liver dish.
Do they?
On the menu. That's 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I became obsessed with it.
Peri peri sauce.
Peri peri sauce, yeah. Slaps.
Major.
And you can buy Nando's peri peri sauce on Amazon.
I know, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
You got to go in person.
Yeah, you do.
Oh my God, it's so good.
It's so good.
All you get is chicken.
And there's like a few Nando's in the US, but they're not in LA.
There's one in Chicago.
In Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how they picked Chicago, and there's a few in Dallas, I think.
I don't know what they were thinking with that.
But why not LA?
I don't know. I feel like we would go. We would keep them in business.
1,000%. So they have a chicken liver dish that's like incredible.
Sounds kind of gourmet for Nando's.
It takes longer to get because I guess they prepare it specially.
I'm glad you appreciate this because a lot of people shit on our food in the UK.
Oh my God. Another thing that I became obsessed with was the full English breakfast.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it's so good.
Blood pudding.
I've had, but I think it's more for me the combination of like the sausage and the English bacon and the eggs and the beans, like the baked beans.
I grew up on that. Tell me we don't have the best sausages you've ever had.
Really good.
So good.
Yeah.
When I have American sausage, I'm disgusted. No offense. But they put like maple syrup in the sausage in America.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's breakfast sausage. It's like a different thing.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Like keep the sweetener in something else. Like keep it in pancakes.
Yeah, it's not bad, but like the whole baked bean thing with the over easy egg and the sausage and the grilled tomatoes.
It just works.
I've been making it at home.
Good.
I swear to God.
Like a soft bacon?
Soft. I'll just buy Black Forest ham. It's like the same thing.
Yeah.
To me.
We have a thick soft bacon in the UK. I agree with you. The English breakfast cannot be matched.
It's incredible.
I know.
I want to become English.
You look English.
Do I?
Are you not?
When I'm not, but when I was a kid, I looked a lot, before he lost his hair, I looked a lot like Prince William. And when I had, yeah, I shit you not. It was a thing.
I could see that.
People used to, I mean, I was blonder and, I would like push my hair back, I mean, and he looks completely different now, but yeah, I would get that.
Secretly a royal.
Secretly a royal, yeah. Maybe I have some, maybe my mom spent some time.
What's your last name?
It's Lugavere. So it's not, if anything, it's German.
Yeah.
But I had such good food when I was in England.
I'm glad you're saying that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love it. I want to spend more time there. But anyway, okay, so Liver King comes into your office.
Yeah.
Wild.
He invited us to his ranch.
Where's that?
Texas.
Interesting.
I kind of want to go.
That sounds like it would be an intense experience.
Like, would I be sacrificed?
Or, just spend the whole time chopping wood and
I'm down for
doing
that.
kinds of, that sounds fun.
They have Dobermans. They have horses.
So do you have a more carnivore style approach now to your diet, or what is that like? Like now that you've kind of settled into this, nice sort of rhythm, in your life.
Yeah.
What does your routine look like?
So I guess the way I describe my diet is kind of like organic paleo, a lot of whole foods. I am very into nutrition and learning from people like you, and I obviously have the podcast, so I listen to a lot of experts. So every time I hear about something, I'm down to try it, I'm very interested in optimizing the way I feel and also longevity and skin. I'm just obsessed with it. So I've tried different methods. Right now, I would say I do eat a lot of meat, and meat is kind of like the center of my diet. So still avoiding the dairy, which kills me because I'd love to partake in the raw dairy, but I did try it and it flared my skin up. So I pulled back. I do coconut yogurt unsweetened in the morning with strawberries and like a pile of turkey bacon because I can't have eggs right now, which sucks. Then lunch is usually like steak and carrots, or I'll do a salad with double chicken, but I would mostly just eat like avocado, chicken, beets type of thing. And then for dinner, pretty much every night I have a ribeye or a fillet and have like avocado and tomato on the side.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I love that you take a protein forward approach.
Super protein forward, which I think, again, a lot of women are afraid of.
Why is that?
I think there's this conception that eating a lot of meat is like a masculine thing to do and that it boosts testosterone, or I don't even know why, but I feel like I look better and feel better when I eat more protein and more meat. And whenever I've gone less protein, more plants, I feel bloated, my skin breaks out, I end up eating more sugar by accident, I end up eating more processed food. So I'm really enjoying my diet right now, and I'm experimenting with different things. Like I tried the raw dairy for a couple of days. I would love to be able to do that at some point. And I also just take a lot of supplements at the moment.
Yeah. Do you think, you're for lack of a better term, a massive influencer on social media. You've got a huge following. People look up to you and for good reason. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on women to adopt a more plant-based lifestyle. There's a lot of marketing that goes into it. And a lot of influencers do tend to promote this idea that it's, somehow, morally superior, healthier, yada yada yada. Like there's all these reasons that are pushed. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, plant-based really had a big moment, and I still find that a lot of people in LA believe that plants are better for you and avoiding meat is the better option and eating fake meat is a better option. I've never gotten on board with that, and again, different things work for different people. I understand that, and I'm not saying my diet would work for everyone.
Yeah.
And I've always said that on my social media. I think it, as you just said, made people feel morally superior, and it was a nice thing to publicly say that you're plant-based and that you don't hurt animals. Whereas now, after speaking to so many experts, we can see that the impact you're having on the environment when you're vegan is pretty much the same, if not worse, than if you're conscious about the meat that you buy.
100%.
So I do think that's interesting, and I do think it's marketing. I think a lot of these companies knew that women would be quick to pick up on plant-based marketing if they said that it was lower calorie or healthier for you or makes you smaller or whatever, the way that people push to women always. So yeah, and I think that's why I love podcasts, because women are listening. My audience is like 95% women, and even if they don't 100% agree with Paul Saladino or you or someone else, at least they can take away the fact that protein is crucial, and that there's a way to ethically eat meat.
Yeah, 100%. It's so true. I always say that if you're partaking in the modern industrial food supply, if you're shopping at a modern supermarket, you're complicit in the I guess the ravaging of the earth and the what is the term? It's the collateral damage, right, that occurs with industrial agriculture to animals, to local ecosystems, to fish, birds, critters.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I could be wrong in this, but I think that the area under the curve, like the net sum suffering that it takes to harvest one cow, for example, that can feed a family for months, is a lot less. It's a lot less net suffering than partaking in industrial plant agriculture, right?
I saw a study about canola oil harvesting just killing massive populations of bees, and that has a trickle-down effect too to farms and other things. So I do think it's interesting that people have that as kind of their reasoning. But yeah,
it's wild. How do you deal with controversy online? Because you have guests that are controversial, and then of course, as you know, I can certainly attest to as well, when you want to drive people to a podcast, you have to sometimes present the more clickbaity, flashy side of the show, whatever it is that you're promoting, and oftentimes that can elicit reactions from people on social media.
Yeah.
So how do you deal?
Like the excerpts you take from the conversation have zero context around them, and people are like, why would you say that? But if you listen to the whole conversation,
of course,
you would understand why.
But you know what's funny about that is it's not like you or I or anybody in the space is doing anything different than mainstream media has done since mainstream media came to be, right? Like if it bleeds, it leads. Like you're making an attempt to capture people's attention, which is fleeting. Because you know that when they listen, they'll get all the appropriate nuance and the context and everything. But you have to cast that net.
Right, and if you were to post the most agreeable, easygoing part of the conversation,
nobody would see it.
No one would see it,
exactly.
And no value would be added. Which to me is the whole point of a podcast, is to introduce people to new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you, and also I'm really passionate about marketing and content, and I love creating exciting videos with our editor. I just have so much fun doing it, so of course I wanted to hit and be exciting. The online hate definitely increased when I started a podcast. I think I actually just spoke about this on a solo, but I've had two types of online hate, and what I will say is nothing significant. Like I feel like the amount of love and support I get outweighs the hate, so
100%.
I'm always so grateful for that. I've had, interestingly, from when I started posting on social media back in 2017, when I was overweight and maybe less financially successful, people could connect with me way easier because I was relatable and going to different stores and, you know, whatever. My lifestyle was different. As I've grown in my business and what I'm doing, I feel like I reached a level of success where people started to get angry about it. And I always say, I think especially for women, because my husband and I have grown in success at the same time, so I've watched him. Men tend to get celebrated more in their success while they're growing up, whereas I think women, people got mad at me. And I hit a level where people were like, we can't relate to you anymore. And I can't see myself in you anymore. I think Chelsea Handler was talking about how they love you until you get success. You know what I mean? They root for you until you actually get there. So that's been interesting.
That's so lame.
It's lame for sure. And I was able to speak about it on the show at length and kind of say, you know, I'm not going to stunt my own growth to be more relatable to people. And again, I think people stop thinking that you're a human being, which is why I try to share things I'm struggling with so that people know I'm still a person and I still have anxiety, I still have acne, I don't have everything figured out. So sharing that. And then with the podcast, sharing my opinions, like on meat, plant-based diets, whatever I'm talking about, has suddenly spiked this controversy in the comments, and I just don't look anymore. My assistant will sometimes look for me, and I'll scroll every now and again, but like I'm not looking in the same way that I used to.
Wow. I'm kind of envious of that,
It's
of your
not
ability.
productive.
It's not productive at all. I wish I could just post and ghost and stay out of the comments and have somebody else manage it for me, but I'm too hands-on.
You battle people, right?
I mean, I try not. It's not my intent to go in there. I mean, I have better things to do, trust me, in my life, right? I've got my life to live. But no, sometimes I do end up in the comments and I go at it with people, but ultimately in the grand scheme of things, it is fun for me. I mean, I get a lot more good out of social media than I do any negative.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I don't look because I'm scared to look or because I just don't want it to scare me from doing it, because I feel like for me, the podcast has been such a, like, it's the most authentic thing I've ever done for me. And probably the most fun I've ever had with a work project. So I want to keep doing it and loving it and not fearing what people say.
How do you pick your guests?
Such a good question. I love podcasts. Like, I was such a big fan of podcasts before I started, so I knew exactly the type of people I wanted to talk to, people I genuinely had questions for. So like Liver King, I would love to get Dr. Rhonda Patrick on. I would die to have her on. An olive oil expert would be amazing.
I could link you with my guy. His name is Nicholas Coleman. Shout out to him. He's been on my show in the past.
Oh, I would love that.
He doesn't live in LA. I think he's New York based, but he's my favorite olive oil expert. I've cited him in all my books pretty much.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he's
I love
great.
that you have an olive oil guy.
Yeah.
Kind of a flex. But anyone that I would in person be drilling is someone I want on the show. Because I think if I'm interested, it's going to be a better conversation. I tend to lean towards nutrition. I have to like diversify a little bit because I know not everyone is obsessed with nutrition. But yeah, wellness. I definitely want to talk about mental health. I think BPD, DBT, mindfulness, that type of thing. Women's health. I had Dr. Mindy Pelz on. I think you did too. She was awesome and really opened up a conversation that I think a ton of people related to, with hormones and birth control and things that not many people were speaking about a couple of years ago. And now it's like a hormone epidemic, I think, right now with women. So PCOS, yeah, I'm down for anything.
It's a great time also because women have I think traditionally been underserved, right? Even though it's kind of ironic because I could be wrong, but I feel like they're the primary wellness spenders of the household. Like they spend, right? Which is it's kind of a crude surrogate for just interest, right? But also a lot of the research is done primarily in men or postmenopausal women. And traditionally all the big podcasters have been men, right? And so it's so wonderful that there's now that it's a population that's no longer underserved. They've got, there's people like you.
Yeah. And I guess
work.
when I would go listen to shows and there was like Andrew Huberman and Joe Rogan and, there was a lot of men out there, that's kind of where I was getting my information. I was like, well, where are the women hosts asking these questions? Because I know there's questions I would ask that you guys would probably just never think of, like about hormones or birth control, right? So I think a lot of women are looking for answers to those questions. So that's kind of my goal, is to bridge that gap.
Yeah, you do a great job.
No, I mean, nothing wrong with men.
No.
Nothing wrong with men. We love having men on the show too.
Well, but it's like we're limited in terms of the questions that we can ask that are relevant to women because that's not lived experience that we have.
Yeah, exactly.
right?
I think it's a missing piece.
Yeah. What, when it comes to, because you're very much at the forefront of trends within the wellness industry, as am I. You know, I think this is an industry that it's just a fun industry to be a part of, and you see trends come and go, and a lot of them are fun. But are there any trends in particular that you can't wait to see die?
I hate cleanses. I've never been a big cleanse person, like Prolon. I actually knew someone that did it close to me, and I watched her do it, and there was like powdered soups and just like weird. I was like, this is almost like hospital food or something. Like, it's so weird. And I just I think because I've been through the 90-pound weight loss journey, I know what works to lose weight, and it isn't that complicated. So when people kind of sell these crazy programs, I'm like, come on. You know, like the powdered soups. And also, you don't learn anything about food. So at the end of the cleanse, maybe you lost 10, 15 pounds, but like, did you learn how to eat or live your life?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those kind of annoy me.
Yeah. They have all these weird products, and no shade against, you know, I mean, like, maybe their products are helping people. I have no idea, but they have all these weird, there's like a fasting bar. They have a fasting bar, which I'm like,
Prolon does?
Prolon does. They have a longevity.
What is a fasting bar? Is it air?
It's like it's air.
A little air packet?
Yeah, it's a little air packet. It's like a granola bar that they market as a fasting bar. And then they have something, it's like a longevity almond butter.
No.
I'm like, what is this?
No.
Yeah, it's very, it's.
You can just say anything now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, cleanses are definitely a big thing.
I mean, LA, we're at the epicenter of these crazy trends.
Yeah.
Colonics. But listen, maybe those are good. Maybe I'm just not on the wave yet, but I know all the girls in LA love colonics.
Do they?
Yeah.
Interesting.
For anyone who doesn't know what that is, you basically pump water and like out of your butt, right?
I think so. I think that's,
yeah,
where else would they put it? I don't know.
You clear your tubes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so girls will go and lose like 10 pounds from a colonic. Which is concerning in itself.
Yeah, but they're not losing any actual body fat. They're just losing
trash
stuff stored in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's good.
Impacted waste.
Yeah.
That if they probably had a little bit more fiber in their diets, wouldn't be an issue.
There you go.
You know?
I know. People in LA do crazy things.
What are your thoughts on all semaglute, Ozempic?
All Ozempic?
Yeah.
You know,
because that's a big thing. It's a huge thing.
You think, yeah.
And LA is not the most overweight city, and yet it's sold out everywhere.
Everyone I know.
How could that be?
Everyone I know is on it.
Interesting.
It's insane. At first, I was a little bit open-minded because I was hearing that it was good for PCOS and that it was giving girls their period back and helping them balance their hormones. And I was like, maybe this is like something interesting. I spoke to my naturopath about it, and she shared with me that they were seeing results of like thyroid cancer and kidney failure, and you know, maybe those are rare circumstances, but to me that's just not worth it. And I think anything that comes out that quickly, I'm scared of. And I also think, again, there's no magic pill. I mean, this is probably the closest you could get to a magic pill for weight loss, but people are losing muscle mass at the same time. It's not just fat. So that is weird to me. And again, I think you don't learn about food or how to live in a healthy manner. Like, they're pretty much just losing their appetite or taking so much that they throw up, eating one meal a day. I just think, isn't that going to ruin your metabolism? Well,
that's the thing, yeah. It puts your body in a catabolic state because you're not eating. So your body's breaking down tissue. And if you don't institute the discipline to start resistance training, for example, some of that tissue lost is going to be muscle, of course.
Mm-hmm. It's been interesting to just see people lose 30 pounds within a month, and you're like, what happened?
Wild.
I know. So it is a little bit scary. And I also said to my husband, I was like, who is spending this much money? Because the pens are like $1,500 or something. And you have to, I guess, get them like frequently.
Wow.
Who can afford that? And he was like, anyone will pay to lose weight. And I guess that's true. I don't know. It's tough to say, and I'm not an expert, so I don't want to say that I know, but I would be concerned.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, I think the problem is that it's people that are not. I'm not against it for people who've exhausted all other options, but I think the issue in LA is that people are using it that are using it in lieu of other way easier, way safer interventions.
It's people who are already healthy and at a good body fat percentage are using it to get to a crazy level of leanness. And I also just think LA is such a vain city. Like, the way you look is so important here. Everyone here is a supermodel, or they're here because of their looks, and I think it adds a lot of pressure. So I get it. I get why people feel the need to do things like that. But yeah, LA's tough. And then I feel like the second I leave, I'm like, oh, wait, there's a normal world out here.
Yeah. How long have you been in LA?
2 years.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, I haven't lived here very long.
And before LA, you were in London?
So I grew up in the UK. I lived in Switzerland for 3 years.
Wow.
Moved to New York when I was 10. My dad works for the United Nations.
Amazing. In New York?
Yeah.
Wow. I grew up like 3 blocks from the UN.
Did you?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City.
No way.
In Murray Hill, which is like, I grew up,
Okay, so I went to Scarsdale High School just outside the city.
Cool.
In Westchester.
Wow.
I don't know why I was sent there. Did I tell you about that?
No.
So the UN chooses where you live. So when we moved to the US, my dad was a UK diplomat. They put us in this town that was super, super wealthy, very Jewish, and we were neither of those things. So it was a very interesting experience. I felt very out of place, and it took me a long time to adapt.
Wow.
But New York is a really special place. We lived in Brooklyn for 3 years. Oh, sorry, not 3 years, 1 year.
Why wouldn't they put you in proximity to the UN?
I guess because we weren't going to go to the UN school.
Oh.
They wanted to put us where there was other good schools.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Was your dad like a diplomat?
Diplomat for 3 years. And then we were going to move back to the UK, but he ended up changing his job so we could stay in America, because none of us wanted to go back. So then he became a genocide lawyer at the UN. And I went to Drexel in Philadelphia. Now he's actually moving back to Switzerland to work at the UN in Geneva.
So cool. You're like a real life Bond girl.
He has a crazy job, actually. I never really I always thought he was cool, but now when I talk about it, I'm like, wait, yeah, he's really cool.
That's amazing. And so you came out to LA, was it to start your supplement company? There's Delilah.
Hi, Delilah. She's like, can I get a little sip?
She's the studio mascot.
She's tiny.
Yeah, everybody always says that.
She's so small. So we started Bloom. I've kind of lived in a lot of places. We started Bloom in my dad's house in New York, still living there, like living out of his attic. I started my company. So I actually had Mari Fitness first, which was a PDF workout guide that we sold for $5 and would manually email it to people. That was my first business. We sold a lot of guides. I always say to people who want to start a business, make a PDF guide on what you're good at. Because I think it works really well because you have no overhead.
Right.
And I buy them. I mean, I bought a farm animal guide the other day.
That's amazing.
Because I want to have a farm. And then the next product was a resistance band. Raised more capital with that and then ended up putting all that money into Bloom. So we're 100% self-funded from the beginning.
Wow.
Launched when we lived in Colorado. So I lived in Boulder, Colorado for a year. And moving to LA was mid-COVID. We actually moved back to Brooklyn. Decided, I mean, COVID in the city was brutal. You couldn't go anywhere. So I had always wanted to move to LA, but we just decided to bite the bullet and do it. And living in LA really blew up our business. So we were working out of my house when we first started. Now we have like 60 employees.
Wow.
Out of Venice, yeah.
That's incredible. Did you always have business acumen?
No. I was literally... I'm very creative and I enjoy making content. I like getting on the microphone. I like filming. And that was kind of... When I first started posting on social media, my strongest asset was speaking to the audience, connecting. I was obsessed with fitness and nutrition. My husband, Greg, is super, super entrepreneurial. Like, this man eat, lives, breathe business. He's crazy. So together, we were kind of just the perfect team. And I will say over time, I was surprised by how much I ended up loving business and how, I don't know, I'm pretty good at it. Like, I enjoy marketing and I enjoy branding. I did design and merchandising in school. So packaging and customer experience is really important to me. But having Greg has really allowed me to lean into the things I enjoy, and he can do the CEO things that he really enjoys. So, yeah.
It's so cool.
It's crazy. I don't, yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, no, what you've built is so impressive and admirable. and the way that your followers look up to you, and hang on your every word, and I could just tell like that you've got a really loyal and engaged following.
They're awesome. And I feel like the people who have been with me from the beginning are really willing to learn and kind of on the journey with me. And I've always said I'm figuring it out too. You know, I think a big misconception is that fitness influencers or wellness influencers have it all figured out and their way is the best way. And I've always said, like, I'm just trying to learn. And that's why I named the show The Pursuit of Wellness, because I think that's my favorite thing about wellness. I feel like there's always new things to learn and try, and I'm open-minded and willing to try those things. So yeah, I'm forever grateful for my community because they completely changed my life.
Yeah. What's your relationship with, with being an influencer? Like, does it ever get overwhelming? Do you feel like you have, like, what level of responsibility do you feel like you have?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like current me doesn't really consider myself an influencer. I don't really post the way I used to. Like, it used to be a huge part of my job. And I used to feel a decent amount of pressure to keep live updating everything I was doing, sharing every meal I was eating, every workout I was doing. And it got to a point where I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And also I've always been, I think what's different with me is that I had a business from the beginning. So I was always an entrepreneur at the same time and always running the business behind the scenes because we did it all ourselves at the beginning. So the first 3 years was just me and Greg pretty much. So now I consider myself more of a podcast host and a business owner because my normal day is me in back-to-back meetings and prepping for the show and editing the show and then going back to the Bloom meetings. So I'm kind of straddling both, I would say. And I'm not someone who, I think a lot of the influencers in LA, their days are like the events and the collabs, and which I respect and, you know, appreciate what they do. It's important. But I don't do things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's hard to, when your job is so multifaceted, it's hard to define yourself in like with one word. Like for me personally, I feel that people probably perceive me differently depending on how they discover me. Like certainly a large portion of my following are people who've discovered me through my books. So to them, I'm an author, I'm a health and science journalist, right? But then people that find me on social media might look at my profile and think, oh, Max is just some influencer. Right. But I'm not. I don't consider myself an influencer at all. I'm an author. I've worked as a health and science journalist. I've published, like academic literature. I go on television and I talk about nutrition science, like fairly heady topics. But I guess if you were just to like out of context see a post of mine on social media, you might think
exactly.
Max is just like some influencer.
I relate in so many ways, and I feel like having a social presence is a huge part of my business and my show for sure. And I used to love it, and content creation was a big reason why I was able to connect with the audience that I have. I think just as I've gotten older, I just prefer long form conversations like this. I don't feel like I can truly be myself on Instagram. Like I don't think posting a photo of myself, I don't know, I just have more to give than that.
Yeah. Well, your podcast is crushing it.
Thank you.
I check it out. It's consistently at the top of the like health and wellness charts.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thanks. It's kind of a grind.
It is a bit of a grind. But it's
a slight grind.
But it's like an amazing I love it. I love it. I get super excited. I get excited to wake up to see a new episode of my own show pop up on my feed.
I get the notification.
Yeah.
Woo, I know.
It's amazing. It's definitely my pride and joy. And then yeah, you're right. You get to have these long form, nuanced conversations. And prior to 5-10 years ago, there really wasn't a platform to allow for that.
Right. And it actually enhances my real life, not just my online persona. Like I leave conversations super amped up and I've learned so much. Yeah. So you're coming on my show, I think next week.
Yeah. Super excited.
With Crosby.
We're going to do a round table.
I've never done that.
Yeah. It's going to be so fun.
I know.
I'm excited.
I'm pumped.
Well, what's next for you?
Ooh, great question. What is next for me?
Yeah. Spill the beans. Spill the English Heinz baked beans.
The best.
Yeah.
Really focused on the show right now. We're growing the team. We have some great guests coming. The show's called Pursuit of Wellness. We're releasing a new greens flavor at Bloom, which will be super delicious. We're now in Target and Walmart. We are thinking of adding another giant retailer soon. Fee, what else do I have going on?
So cool.
I don't know. Might have a baby.
I mean, that sounds like a lot. Might have a baby?
No.
You just slip that in there?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not pregnant, but I want to be.
Every time every time you mention your brand, I think of one of my favorite cafes. I haven't been there in a long time, but one of my favorite cafes in LA is called Bloom Cafe.
Really?
Have you been there?
No.
It's on Pico.
Oh.
They have a tandoori chicken bowl over quinoa with like some kind of coconut curry
That sounds amazing.
sauce. 10 out of 10. It's
Wow.
really good.
Bloom
Yeah.
Cafe. Well, they stole our name, but I guess I'll go.
Yeah. Apparently. Well, this was super fun. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. That was awesome.
Yeah. I loved my interview on your show. People that are finding out about you for the first time should definitely go and listen to your podcast and subscribe. But we did an episode that was super fun, super controversial, of course.
Oh yeah, we talked about everything.
Yeah, everything. It was awesome.
That one really hit. The audience loved it.
It was awesome. And I really appreciated the fact that you gave me the space to talk about all those controversial topics, because I know that, sometimes on wellness podcasts, like that was our first time meeting. I didn't know what to expect necessarily, but we went there and I thought you wield a really like great audience, but probably an audience that is fairly naive to some of the things that we talked about, the downside, the potential downsides of plant-based diets, the benefits of animal source product consumption.
Yep. I think it was new for them.
Yeah.
And but you delivered it in a great way. And I think the conversation itself was awesome because I was so interested. And I think it added a ton of value. It ruffled some feathers, but that's kind of the job,
Yeah, exactly. Hey, if you like that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.